Well, that was a very wild game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They get that 5-4 comeback victory over the Philadelphia Flyers to beat them for the third straight time this season, fourth straight time overall. These teams will play again in late April. I have a full game recap episode coming up for you all right after this drop. We'll obviously start with Sidney Crosby, Kris Letang heroics, Casey DeSmith, and a whole lot more.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. Again, one more time, if there are any audio issues, just let me know. This is the second time I'm using my brand new microphone that I just got in the mail on Sunday. And again, leave a comment on YouTube if there's any issues or anything like that. But Pittsburgh Penguins are able to get that 5-4 win tonight against Philly. But you know where we're starting. Sidney Crosby gets his 500th career goal against Philadelphia. Everyone, I think, in the fan base, everyone that covers the team, including me with this podcast, knew that this was probably going to happen against the Flyers. Even Flyers fans, I think, knew that it was going to happen against them. And, it was poetic. He gets his 500th career goal. He's now tied for 45th all-time for the most goals scored in NHL history with Lanny McDonald. He's only a couple away of tying Joe Mullen. Jean Bellevue is at 507. Jeremy Roenick's at 513. Dale Hawerchuk at 38. He's probably going to get close to the top 30, I would say, by the end of his career. Probably will be higher than that. Hopefully, we'll see if he can get make a push for 600, though. That's going to be tough with where he is right now. Obviously, Ovechkin is way past that, and for good reason. But it was just a vintage Sid goal because of where it happened, right? It's on the power play. It's a pass from Evgeny Malkin. Sid's in his office, down low, Carter Hart, no shot. Just take your bags off the ice, go to the gulag or something. No goalie, including him, was probably going to stop that. That is just that is how good Sid is down low. And I wish I could put it into words, how much Sidney Crosby has meant to me and, so many other, I think, fans of, near or a little above my age for, these new generation of fans who just didn't grow up, I would say, in the early 90s with Mario and Yager. I mean, obviously I'm on the younger side of things. I totally get that. I'm not trying to say that I was there for Mario's greatness, because I was not, and I wish I was. But, what he has done for this team and this city ever since coming into the league is it's really second to none. And I hope everyone cherishes these moments, because I do not think we are going to see another player of his caliber, come through this town. I know people said that with Mario Lemieux, and, some of them were proved wrong just because Sid is, close to that level. I wouldn't say he was better than Mario. Obviously, he's still one of the 5 best players to ever play the game. But, he was still able to come through and, just be so awesome. But I still don't think that, we are going to see another player of his caliber. And, I want everyone to remember where you were, just for this sort of milestone. And, just thinking about it overall, I know we've seen him do so much for this city, that all the Stanley Cups, the Conn Smythes, the scoring titles, the Hart Trophy titles, all the All-Star berths, everything. But, the way that he's been able to, remodel his game the last few years and still hit 500 goals is also such a great accomplishment, just because he was never known for, being a defensive player. But, he's been able to be one of the best defensive centers, in the league, while also still doing his thing, playmaking and goal scoring wise. It's why, again, I don't think there are 5 better players in the league history than Sidney Crosby. And again, I wish I could put everything into words. What a talent. This was his night. And I'm so glad the team was able to get the win for him, because if they would have lost this game, it definitely would have left me, and I think a lot of the other fans, with just, a sour taste in their mouths. But it's just, thank you, Sidney Crosby, I should say, for everything he's done for this team and, for just for everything, for the city and all that. And, he also was able to secure, I believe, his 1,370th point tonight. 1,370 points, which moves him to 26th place all-time scoring history. Obviously, it's going to be remembered for something else, but he's now inching upwards now to the top 25 for the all-time scoring race. Figured I would throw that stat out there for you all as well. And of course, this happened to occur on Jaromir Jagr's birthday. Happy 50th birthday, Jaromir, one of the greatest players to ever play in this franchise history as well. I hope he was smiling a little bit if he was able to watch the end of that game as Sidney Crosby was able to get the win. And then, of course, the goal before then. And, I love the standing ovation that the crowd gave him. It started off with Mary Lemieux giving him a beautiful little speech. And then, just his mom and dad were coming to tears. Kathy Lutner, his girlfriend, was at the game. I was surprised she was there just because you never see her at any games. I think Sid just lives a very quiet, personal life. That's just always how he is. But, this was just it was too poetic. I think, and I can't thank Sidney Crosby enough for everything he's done for this team. And here's to 500 more goals. Probably won't happen. I'm hoping for at least 100 more, if not, hopefully more than that as well. But we obviously had to start there in his office. I hope everyone took that on FanDuel, DraftKings, wherever you're betting. It was an easy cash. I'm glad I was able to get a little bit of cash myself. I also did have the bet where he was going to be the first Penguins goal scorer. It just sucks that Dominic Simone was able to score first, and then Sid got his goal. If it were reversed, I probably would have walked away with over $150. I had the $10 bet I was going to win 110 if Sid was the first goal scorer for the Penguins. I just missed it by that much. I'm still getting a little mad about that just because I should have had my parlay in the Super Bowl. I would have gotten home with $180, but Joe Burrow didn't, get 9 more rushing yards, and I ended up losing that. But anyways, getting back to the original point, just a very emotional night, and I was glad that the Penguins were obviously able to get the win on Sidney Crosby special night. This will not be the last special occasion when it comes to Sidney Crosby. There is so much more ahead, but I just wanted, to take the time to tell you all how much he's meant to me just growing up and, watching him for basically almost my entire life now. His rookie season, I was only 8 years old. I'm 24 now. I'll be 25 later this year. It's crazy that, he's been playing in the league for 2/3 of the time that I've been on this planet. And again, I can't, I try to put it into words. It's so hard, but thank you, Sid, just for everything. And that goal tonight was strictly sensational. But that'll do it for this first segment of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to go into Kris Letang's heroics, the third period. Obviously, we're going to get to Casey DeSmith later on in the show. Excuse me, Jake Gensel scoring, of course, and Dominic Simone, he was able to finally show a pulse as well. But before we do that, got beard, get Primal. And yes, you heard me right. If you are someone you care about has a beard, it needs to get Primal. Maybe you are that guy who has never considered the benefits of treating your beard with product. Primal Origin Oils will stop the itch and make your beard look healthy and groomed. The products are free from harmful synthetic ingredients and with low impact on our planet. Primal Origin Oils makes balms, oils, and whipped butter that are known as the best feel and beard products available. Excuse me. All products are fair trade certified and handcrafted in the United States. The combo kits make a great holiday gift no matter the time of year. And if you're shopping for yourself, you will be glad you did. We know that every company claims to have the best, but Primal Origin Oils challenges you to compare their ingredients and their feel and beard to other products that you have used. We promise you will see and feel the difference. I've told this story before, my stepdad, he definitely badly needs this product. I've been trying to convince him to get Primal, but we'll see if he does, just because I think his beard is starting to get a little out of control. Remember, the code Locked On gets you 20% off at primaloriginoils.com. Use the code Locked On at checkout for 20% off at primaloriginoils.com. All right, we're back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter excuse me, at LO_Penguins. I have no idea. Every time I try to record these shows, I just get this weird cough. I don't have COVID or anything, but I don't get it. But getting back to, of course, the Penguins and Flyers recap. Kris Letang, we got to get to him now. He was probably the best player on the ice tonight. Just strictly awesome, both ends of the rink, breaking up odd man rushes like it was nothing, making some beautiful passes in the offensive zone. And, when the Penguins needed him most, when the game was tied early on into overtime, I loved what he did on that 2-on-1. Go back and watch it because he has the puck. He's looking at Sid just like, I see you over there. But if I pass it, I think it's going to be intercepted. But, he saw it wasn't going to happen. And he fired it on net, barely even looking at it. That's the crazy thing. Was hardly even looking out at the puck or even looking at Carter Hart. Fires at not glove side. Fires it through the pads. And, the Penguins are going home with that 5-4 victory. And here is a very cool stat for you all. Kris Letang now has the most overtime points by a defenseman in NHL history with 30. So more history tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins. That stat comes courtesy of Penguins PR. So thank you for putting that out there. But, I would love for them to sign him to a lifetime extension already. I've been harping on that, for the last few weeks to a month or something like that. He was just awesome on the ice. And, for all his critics out there that like to say that he doesn't do anything, well, I don't know how you can say that just, based on this goal and based on his play tonight and based on everything he has done this season. This is probably one of the 5 best games that I've seen him play this year. And, just the hug that him and Sid shared after that goal, they and just the look they gave each other. It was just a look of relief just because, Letang, he kind of came in right as Sid and Gino, were making their NHL debuts or a little bit after, but it's been mainly these three, for, the last, 13, 14, 15 years. And, what better way to celebrate than, him getting the overtime winner after Sidney Crosby, makes a little bit of history himself. But I loved that goal because it showed, just, how good Kris Letang is and how his hockey IQ is as well. Because, a lot of other players in that situation, they would have made the pass because it is Sidney Crosby's special night. He's flanking the other side. He's on his, strong side for a one-timer. But Letang said, you know what? Screw that. I'm going to shoot it 5-hole past Carter Hart, and I'm going to go win the game. And the Penguins, they did just that with that goal. So good job to Tanger. He continues his awesome season, and I'm just waiting for the contract announcement at this point. Jake Guentzel, he was able to get another goal tonight, and that was a goal that really changed the outlook of this game because before then, the Penguins that, they got that power play with 8 minutes left, but those prior 12 minutes, nothing was happening. They had 2 shots on net. They were not forechecking well. Defensively, they looked a little sloppy. Casey DeSmith was, making a couple of saves, but he wasn't really too busy because the Flyers were content on sitting back, and they were doing a pretty good job of it. They weren't really letting the Penguins do much about it. But once they got that power play, it was game over. The puck movement was superb, and Letang's play on that goal. I should have mentioned it, a couple seconds ago. I don't know why I didn't. Another great hockey IQ play by Tanger. It wasn't even a shot at Carter Hart. It was a shot/pass looking for a rebound because he saw Jake right there and in front of the net, of course, that is. And we all know how good Jake is in front of the net. I wouldn't say, he's like a prime Patrick Hornquist or Tomas Holmstrom, but he is still pretty good in that area. And Letang was able to whack it off Hart's pad, and then it ended up sitting there right in the blue paint for Jake, and he's able to bury that goal 4-3. 18 seconds later, I believe it was Heinen that had the pass to Chad Ruedel. He gets a very rare goal. If my memory serves me right, and I can actually look at this right now, if I can find this here real quick. Yeah, this was, I believe, only his second goal of the season. This is a player that, he doesn't score much, but he also doesn't need to score that much just because of how great overall, just defensively, I should say he is. And I'm actually going to look that up here real quick on my phone. I was going to do that on my PC, but I wanted to make sure that this was his second goal of the year. Forgive me for just this really Actually, no, excuse me. That was only his first goal of the year. I thought that he had scored one earlier in the season. I apologize for that. It's good that I double check it because I didn't want to publish this podcast and, leave you all with a flawed stat or something like that. So first goal of the year for Chad, and it couldn't have come at a bigger time. 2 goals in 18 seconds for the Penguins. And then, DeSmith was able to redeem himself. I'm going to get to that in just a second, but getting that power play really turned the tide for the Penguins, especially with that Gensel goal, because they were buzzing after that, which of course led to Ruedel getting his first of the season. So just much better I should say 8 minutes of the third period compared to those first 12 overall. And Casey DeSmith, I gotta say it. I mean, I don't know why some people were defending him on social media and a couple of other places. He doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. I saw some people saying that he had only given up one bad goal. I couldn't disagree more. I know the Giroux one, people are going to say, I mean, that one I think was a nice shot. The second one, Brian Rust, I know gave to, was it Scott Law on a silver platter. DeSmith, I think, could have come up with a save on that, though. The third one was really bad. You can't allow a goal from 50 to 55 feet with hardly any traffic in front of you. That's unacceptable. The fourth one, I know it went off Marcus Pettersson, but he was swimming in the net for that entire sequence. He needs to, be a little more aggressive in that situation and, not flop all over himself, because if he wasn't flopping all over himself, as I just said, he probably would have come up with that save and it wouldn't have gone off Marcus Pettersson. And, kudos to him for stepping up in those final 7 minutes, because the Flyers definitely threatened more than once on that late power play that they got in a couple of other times. Then on after, he made a great glove save towards the late stages on that power play. And then, he was able to get it to overtime. I don't think I saw a lot of people on social media talking about that during the game when I was live tweeting. I wish there was. I know he stunk and all that. But, he was one of the main reasons why the game did get to overtime after the Penguins tied the game, because he easily could have crumbled and given up a goal. Heck, I was almost expecting him to give up a bad goal just because of how bad he was tonight. But, he clamped down. He made a couple really big saves. The Penguins were able to secure at least a point before Kris Letang did his magic. That said, I still think this team needs to go out and get a competent backup goaltender. And I will die on that hill. I know he had 2 good starts coming into this. I understood why Mike Sullivan wanted to start DeSmith, because the Flyers are not that good. I totally get that. It's kind of a low-risk game. I know there's history on the line with Sidney Crosby, but with how bad the Flyers have been lately, I believe Steve Mears said on the broadcast, they've lost 15 of their last 17 coming in. This has not been a good hockey team. This was potentially the last game that Sidney Crosby will play against Claude Giroux, Flyers Penguins-wise. But, that said, this was a step back for him. And, it's been like that this season. It's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And again, this was one of those times where it was 2 steps back. And I still want the team to go out and, get some insurance for the Vezina caliber goaltender, because he can't start every game. I mean, he's just going to be burned out. And, if he, God forbid, I'm going to knock on wood, God forbid he gets hurt or something happens, this team is done in the playoffs without him starting or without him playing at the level that he is playing at right now. This was not good enough from Casey DeSmith. And I think a lot of the fans realize that. I don't want people to defend him for no reason. I saw some of that tonight. I didn't like it. I completely disagree with all those takes. And I understand the team was playing sloppy defensively. That definitely contributed to some of the goals that were given up. But DeSmith needs to bail out some of those, sloppy moments, and he did not do that tonight. So he definitely gets a really bad negative grade in my book. Still have a little more to get to for this episode of Locked On Penguins podcast. Of course, we got to get into Dominic Simone's goal and how awesome that deflection was. More Kasperi Kapanen's talk, because, I'm never done roasting him. He's definitely going to get roasted coming up here in the following segment. And of course, I think a couple of other things as well. But before we do get to that, the NFL season might be over, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props, to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline is the number 1 spot for all of your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action that is BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, welcome back to this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes, all the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. Sorry, I have an itch in my eye there. Dominic Simone's goal. It's basically once in a blue moon that he scores. He was able to get, if I believe I have this right, I'm going to make sure I get this right. This was only his third goal of the year. Remember he scored his first one in the first game of the season against Tampa Bay Lightning, and then he scored another one the fact that I can't even remember that second goal just goes to show that he just doesn't score a lot. But, what a deflection that he had past Carter Hart. Did not know where that came from, was able to tie the game right after Giroux scored. And, that also brought new life into the building. And, he continues to play, not too terribly. I mean, he's kind of just been there. His playmaking ability has always been fine. Defensively, he's all right. It's always just been his goal scoring, has just never been there for his career. And it hasn't changed this season. I know they were giving him a second chance by coming back and all that. But still, really nice goal for him tonight. And he's obviously going to keep playing until this team gets a little more healthy. Kasperi Kapanen again. I'd be a rich man if every time he walked into the offensive zone and just button hooked back and just laid a stupid pass. If he did that every time, I'd probably make $500 a game. I don't really know what's going on. His confidence is not there, and he's still not shooting the puck when he comes in flying. He's always doing these drop passes. I counted at least 3 to 4 tonight from him with that in that regard, and I don't understand it. I don't know what's going through his head when he plays. I got to think again, it's 90% it's confidence, but Kapanen was demoted, and rightfully so, throughout that game. You can definitely see that Mike Sullivan has had enough with this player. And as I said on my Monday episode, for those that did not listen, if he were traded at the deadline, I really do not care. I really would not care, because this team needs a competent scorer in their top 9. He is basically a black hole right now. And, he's quickly approaching, I wouldn't say the unplayable category, but, he's approaching where if Sullivan were to healthy scratch him by chance, I don't think a lot of people, myself included, in the fan base or people that cover the team, would care that much, because I think it would be warranted. He has not been good this year, and tonight his struggles continued. And, as DK of DK Pittsburgh Sports said, he better not take the ice in that 3-on-3 overtime, especially with what happened last time against the Washington Capitals, when he was one of the main reasons, they lost, because he turned the puck over the blue line, and the Penguins never saw the puck again those last 45 seconds until Dmitry Orlov's game winner. So I'm glad that, the 3 players of Gensel, Letang, and Crosby, they all stayed on the overtime shift for, 30 seconds, if that, and no one else had to come on overall. So, I think I'm running out of things to say when it comes to Cappy. I want him to turn it around because I like him, but I don't see it happening at this point. Overall, game-wise, the Penguins did have the better of the play. If I go to natural stat trick here, 55% of the shot attempts at 5v5, 54% of the scoring chances. They led in high danger 6-5, 57% of the expected goals for. They were outchanced, actually. For actual goals for, the Flyers had them beat 4-2 at 5v5, but of course the Penguins were able to get those 2 power play goals. If we go to all situations here, 54% of the shot attempts for the Penguins, 55% of the scoring chances, and 64% of the high danger chances. The Penguins actually only allowed Philadelphia to have 2 combined high danger chances in both the first and third periods. It was that second period where they were just playing a little sloppy. And, I definitely thought, in the first part of the third period as well, they were a bit sloppy. And it was kind of like, okay, you guys do realize this is one of the worst teams in hockey, right? The Penguins were able to wake up just because the Flyers team defense is that bad, and they're able to tie it and then, win that game 5-4. They keep pace in the Metropolitan Division. They are still in first place as of right now. If I go to the standings, the Penguins are 3 points up on the Hurricanes. Remember, Hurricanes do have 4 games in hand. But the Rangers, they were also able to win tonight, so the Penguins keep that 4-point lead over them, as the Rangers also have some games in hand as well, too. That is. I don't think I miss anything for the show tonight. At least I don't think so. I'm going through. I was just going through my timeline to make sure if I hit on everything with my notes. Brock McGinn, thank God that was not a broken hand or a broken wrist. I flinched when I was watching that because it was almost like think about if you didn't have a glove on. It's like a bare puck hitting your hand without any protection, and usually 9 out of 10 times, excuse me, that's probably a broken hand / wrist. He was able to somehow come back into the game and look pretty good. I hope it's not another situation where he finishes the game and is out for 4 to 6 weeks, because we've seen that so many times with the Penguins. But it looks like as of right now, he is okay. Last but not least, shout out to you, Pittsburgh, for all the fans that went to the game at PPG Paints Arena. Based on the TV with how loud it was in my house, that was probably the loudest I have heard PPG in 2 years. And I know obviously last year, with COVID and everything, no one could really go to the games, but, Pittsburgh brought it tonight. The fans that were there. I know Alan T. Yoder, you're a frequent listener of this podcast. You were there tonight. You sent me a video. It's awesome that you got to be there. Thank you for sending me that. And, I'm glad that you were one of the fans that were there to just really support the team, because, that was a playoff-like atmosphere with what I was looking in. If the fan base can continue to do that throughout the rest of the season, it's going to be huge, because I really think this team is special and they can go on a deep run. But at the end of the day, of course, Penguins get that win 5-4. They're back in action on Thursday against the Toronto Maple Leafs. That'll be the third and final meeting. The Penguins have taken the first 2 meetings, one in Toronto and one in Pittsburgh. I'll have a full game preview, for Wednesday's episode, and of course, touch on a couple of other things. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast, and I will be back on Wednesday for a new episode. I'll talk to you all then.